Today is Saturday, September 30th, 2023, and this is the Dunkley Report. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's last-ditch plan to keep the government temporarily open has collapsed. Friday's vote, a day before the deadline, makes a government shutdown almost certain. The vote was 198, 232, with 21 hard-right Republicans voting to sink the package. The White House and Democrats called the Republican package, with its steep spending cuts of up to 30%, too extreme. The bill included severe border security provisions demanded by the hard right flank. The bill would have kept government operations open through October 31st. The Senate is working on its own plan that is widely supported by both parties. The Senate plan to continue funding at current levels is headed for votes this weekend. A storm has delivered one of the wettest days in decades to the New York metropolitan area. The deluge Friday stranded drivers on highways, knocked out several subway and commuter rail lines, and shuttered a terminal at LaGuardia Airport. The National Weather Service says more than 7.25 inches of rain had fallen in parts of Brooklyn by nightfall. The 8.65 inches of rain at John F. Kennedy Airport surpassed its record for any September day. That record was set during Hurricane Donna in September 1960, and more downpours are still expected. Tributes are pouring in for Diane Feinstein, the trailblazing California senator who has died at 90. President Joe Biden called her a true trailblazer. Former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton said the same. Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced to colleagues that we lost a giant in the Senate. She was an advocate for liberal priorities, but was also known as a pragmatic lawmaker who reached out to Republicans. She had been in failing health for months, but refused growing requests to retire. The United Auto Workers Union expanded its strikes against Detroit automakers, ordering 7,000 more workers to walk off the job in Illinois and Michigan. The move announced Friday is supposed to put more pressure on the companies to improve their offers. It marked the second time the union has widened the walkout, which started 2 weeks ago at 3 assembly plants. The most recent additions are a Ford plant in Chicago and a General Motors assembly factory near Lansing. Union President Shawn Fain told workers in a video appearance that the strikes were escalated because Ford and GM refused to make meaningful progress in contract talks. The Navy will begin randomly testing its Special Operations Forces for steroids and other performance-enhancing drugs, beginning in November. It's a groundbreaking step that military leaders have long resisted. Rear ADM Keith Davids, the commander of Naval Special Warfare Command, announced the new program Friday in a message to his force. He says it is necessary to protect their health, safety, and military readiness. A driving factor in the announcement was the death of a Navy SEAL candidate early last year. It has been in the works for months. A grand jury in Las Vegas has indicted the last living suspect in the 1996 killing of Tupac Shakur in a long-awaited breakthrough in one of hip-hop's most enduring mysteries. Dwayne Kefe D. Davis was charged Friday with murder. Davis is the uncle of the suspected shooter and has long been linked to the case. He has admitted publicly that he was in the car with his nephew when Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting near the Las Vegas Strip. The nephew was fatally shot 2 years later in California. Las Vegas police searched Davis's home in mid-July. In an occasionally dark and profane speech, Donald Trump on Friday sought to win over Republicans in California by complaining that rich people in Beverly Hills smell bad because they're denied water, reiterating lies about widespread election fraud, and calling on police to shoot people robbing stores. While many of his remarks at the California Republican Party convention in Anaheim were familiar retreads of Trump's attacks and grievances, his encouragement of violent retribution against criminals marked an escalation of his long-standing tough-on-crime message. We will immediately stop all of the pillaging and theft. Very simply, if you rob a store, you can fully expect to be shot as you are leaving that store, he said, drawing loud applause. Authorities in Pakistan say at least 52 people were killed and nearly 70 wounded after a suspected bomber blew himself up in a crowd of people celebrating the Prophet Muhammad's birthday in the southwest of the country. The bombing occurred in Mastung, a district in Baluchistan province, an area that has witnessed scores of attacks by insurgents. Videos showed an area near a mosque strewn with the shoes of the dead and wounded. Some of the bodies had been covered with bedsheets. 5 people were killed in a separate blast at a mosque in the northwest. The Catholic Archdiocese of Baltimore on Friday filed for Chapter 11 reorganization days before a new state law goes into effect, removing the statute of limitations on child sex abuse claims and allowing victims to sue their abusers decades after the fact. In a statement posted on the Archdiocese website, Archbishop William E. Laurie says the step will allow the Archdiocese to equitably compensate victim survivors of child sexual abuse, while the local church continues its mission and ministries. On Sunday, Maryland will end the state's statute of limitations for when civil lawsuits for child sexual abuse can be filed against institutions. Victims are already poised to file lawsuits when the law takes effect. A Tennessee judge says she is ending a conservatorship agreement between former NFL player Michael O'Hare and a Memphis couple who took him in when he was in high school. Shelby County Probate Court Judge Kathleen Gomes said she is terminating the agreement reached in 2004 that allowed Sean and Lee Ann Tuohy to control O'Hare's finances. He had signed the agreement when he was 18 and living with the couple as he was being recruited by colleges as a star high school football player. Their story is the subject of the film The Blind Side, which earned Sandra Bullock an Oscar. Gomez said she was not dismissing the case. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the top news for Saturday, September 30th, 2023. Thanks again for joining us here at the Dunkley Report.